We all want to have health and wellness and vitality in our lives, but how do we get there in a way that is meaningful and sustainable? I'm here with Yogi Cameron, the author of The One Plan, to help us sort through all the many levels that it takes to have holistic health and wellness. Yogi, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So your book, The One Plan, is based on some ancient teachings, and they have a modern translation.
Yeah, many people have taken this and translated it. I've sort of put it in a plan that you can do over 1 year. So it's called The One Plan, and it's based on Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And it's really about you and applying nature's laws. So it's not my law, it's just the way that life is. You know, day-to-day life, you're not going to be able to always have it the way you want. But if you live a more natural way, and that means, you know, you respect nature and you go with it rather than you try to go against it, then you'll be better off than if you don't.
Yeah, there's so many people out there who struggle with their weight. They struggle with feeling okay with whatever their weight is. They try to fix it in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, have some success, and then fall back. What's going on there?
Nobody's successful at, you know, 10-day, 20-day, 30-day thing, because there's such a limit to it. And then what do you do after in the 31st day? You kind of feel like, oh, I did a lot and now I'm not going to do anything else. It doesn't sustain you. What I'm saying is, it's kind of like a fast. You know, you do your 21 days, but what are you going to do after that? You still need to do something. So what I do is I treat the 21-day fast as something, you know, you do just to clean yourself a little bit more, but you still should be cleaning yourself every day. Now we understand that, you know, in cleanliness and taking care of our health on the outside, so we take a shower. But why aren't we doing that with our mind? You know, we need to clean our mind out of stuff as well as our body. So the One Plan is all about the mind and the body. Let's clean it out, but let's sustain cleaning it, not let it keep getting bogged down and then cleaning it again. You
have some interesting questions in the book that we were talking about. And, you know, some of them were quite intriguing, like when you ask yourself questions about when you go out to a restaurant, do you take too many napkins? Or do you indulge on things that are free giveaways? I mean, how does that relate to our overall health and wellness?
Well, because it puts you in a mindset of, oh, I need to get something. So you're always outward, looking outward. Everything is taking you outward instead of staying here with your peace of mind. Because ultimately, whether you have a napkin or you don't, it's not really going to change your life.
You have your sleeve, right?
Yeah, you have your sleeve. Or somebody else's sleeve.
Right, exactly.
Preferably. But it's all about, you know, keeping the peace. So whatever, you know, that mentality, you know, of taking too many napkins will go into other things. So once you start a habit, it can seep into all parts of your life. So what I'm saying is, well, don't start that habit. You know, keep your peace and know that you don't really need that many things outside of yourself.
So the Yoga Sutras have basic principles within them.
Yeah.
And what are those?
Well, there's 8 limbs. They're called 8 limbs. And they are yama niyama, which is the way you treat yourself, the way you treat others in society. You know, so truthfulness, for example, is a pillar of the practice. Or ahimsa, which is non-violence. But non-violence, taking it in a much broader way of, am I violent to myself when I eat too much, when I speak too much, when, you know, sleep too much. You know, that is not a violence too. Because everything that is not in balance is violent towards us and to other people. So it's really taking everything that we think about in life, like truthfulness. Am I lying to myself about something? Do I want to be a certain way, but I'm not, so I'm just going to pretend? Well, that's a lot more pressure. So again, I'm being kind of violent to myself. So all of these things are interrelated. And then there's yoga postures and breathing methods and meditation and all of those things as well. But it's really getting the basics right first before you even attempt to do everything else.
So you use the analogy of Michelangelo, and when he saw the piece of marble, he saw within it this beautiful figure, but he didn't go in there obviously with you know, medieval jackhammer and start trying to chisel it away. He removed it with some layers. How do we do that in our own lives?
You got to have patience with yourself, right? But consistency.
Good luck with that.
Being consistent is sort of the key.
Right, yes.
If you try something for too short a time, you're really not going to master it. So what you got to ask yourself before you do anything is, am I just getting involved in something, or am I trying to master this? Right? So I have hobbies, for example, but I'm not a master of my hobbies. But certain things that I do, I have to master. So you have to kind of separate those and say, well, in my hobbies, I'm going to do them. And if, I'm playing tennis and I kind of like it, it's great. But if I want to become champion, I'm going to have to practice every day.
So the one plan is for mastery.
It's for people who want to do somewhat of it at level of the body, and then the people who do the level of the mind want to keep going, and then level of the spirit, you want to master it. So there's something for everybody. So if you want to kind of use it as a hobby, you'll get something out of it. But what I'm saying is, why don't you just apply all of these teachings to the rest of your life, and they'll make your life so much more simple.
So one of the principles that we touched on earlier is truthfulness. And I think that you propose a lot of even radical truthfulness. You say, if you feel like yawning, don't stifle your yawn.
Yeah.
Just to be honest in everything. Don't say yes to make plans that you don't intend to keep.
Yeah.
Why is that level of honesty so important?
Because it takes the fakeness out of things, right? You're not pretending anymore. Because ultimately, if you pretend something, you're going to attract other people who also pretend. And that puts you in a group of people you might not want to be with.
All the imposters.
In the imposters. Right? And if you're okay to be in with the imposters, it's all good.
Right.
But if you start complaining about them and saying, well, why are they like that? Well, because they reflect you.
Right.
Right? So you want to be in the room with the people that appreciate you the most. So if you are, trying to pretend you are something, well, you want to be in the room with other people who are pretending too. You don't want to be in a room where everybody's honest.
And you're the pretender. Then it would be obvious.
Yeah, so be in the room where people really appreciate you and that people speak to you in a way that you want to be spoken to.
So this principle of holistic wellness is about having a practice that you do every day.
Every day.
And having the discipline around it.
Yeah.
And then out of that flows your ideal weight, your beauty, your tranquility, and all of those good things.
Exactly. And it's something you do every day. So instead of, sometimes, it's unrealistic that you're going to do something sometimes and then you're going to get the full benefit of it. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
Right? So I'm not.
The sad truth.
That's just, many people will tell you other things, but I won't.
The one-time workout, great results.
Yeah, the 4-minute meditation and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And enlightenment will happen in a moment. Good luck with it.
Let me know how that's working.
Yeah. So I'm saying is, let's put aside all the fads, all the things that you've told yourself that it doesn't work anyway, and just do it properly. And doing it properly means, it's like when you brought up your children, you didn't start going, well, I'll just use this as an experiment. And, maybe I'll be a parent on a Tuesday, and then,
They're not really my children, they're imposters.
Yeah, exactly. So you were a parent every day.
Right.
So this is the same thing. You got to be healthy every day. Why do it only 2 days a week? Right? So it's really cutting out all the stuff that you don't need to do and getting on with the things you should be doing.
So we live in a world that's busy.
Yeah.
And one of the aspects of that is prioritizing our list. What's the most important thing for us to do to achieve probably sometimes in our life the most compelling problem that we have?
Yeah.
And so this is a different way of looking at that.
Well, it's making your list and saying, what is the most important thing to me? That's why honesty is really important, is because, do I want to drink a glass of wine every day? Why? And my mind says, you shouldn't. Or why shouldn't you? If you really want to do it, well, just do it. Right? So it's getting that level of honesty, because a lot of people who I consult with come and say, well, I should be doing this. Or I'm trying to do that. Well, why are you trying to do that? Well, somebody told me I should, right? Or I should be healthy. Well, do you really want to be healthy? Well, to a point. Well, just do it to a point. Just be honest with yourself and just go to that point. And that's all that matters. It's not about everybody's spiritual, everybody should be healthy, everybody should be doing that and this. It's about living the way you want, but also living with the consequences, right? So I have an old friend of mine who always, we have chats once a year, and he says, I should really be healthy. What should I do? And I said, well, why do you want to be healthy? You like going out, you like drinking, you like having a great time, you're out in nightclubs. It's a different lifestyle, And he says, well, I just feel sometimes I should. And I say, well, if you should, then get on with it, And we've been having this conversation like 10 years now. Right. So I think it's sometimes something that people think they should do, but actually they don't want to do.
They're not serious about it.
Yeah, they're not serious about it.
So you have a fascinating background. You lived in the world of fashion and beauty, and then you decided to go to India. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was stopped in the street when I was 19, and somebody asked me to be a model, and I went on that journey for about 12 years. And then somewhere around 1998, I was in Nelson Mandela's home in South Africa, and he had just come out of jail. And I saw this peaceful man who was sort of peaceful, and people had done so many things wrong, to this man, and he had forgiven them. So I sort of thought, that's sort of my path. I want to go on that. I want to learn from this sort of person now. And I sort of, in my head, finished with the fashion business, and started training and starting to teach yoga. And then I sort of saw, oh, there's a lot more to this. I need a teacher, and
just a little bit more.
Yeah, just a little bit. Then sitting and putting your body in strange positions.
Right.
And so I went to India, and I found my guru there, and I started training with him. And after about 14 years now, I still work with him and live in India. But I sort of found that the inner, outer, and beauty have a place. The outer beauty has a less of a place, but the inner beauty has a lot more, because that's really where everything comes from. So it's not that I forgot that, and said renounce the outer beauty. It's more about find the place, and really they work together. Because people today are, very intrigued by outer beauty. It's the first thing that everybody sort of notices about each other. Oh, your hair, your face, your eyes. Where are you from? Which country are you from?
I love your clothes.
Yeah, I love your clothes. It's all about the outer world. So what I teach is really about going more inward, because the outward, we don't really need to put much attention on it, because everybody's attention is already there.
So inward beauty with the one plan, how does that come together?
It's all connected, right? When we simplify our life, it means that we get rid of all the things that are not about us. And that way we just get to the core of how we want to live. That's really all the one plan is about. How do you really want to live? It's not saying you have to be healthy, or you have to be spiritual, or you have to be this. It helps you if you want to get there, but if you want to do less, you can do less. But it's about, how do you really want to live? Because, like we were talking about before, people think they should be doing something, but
there's a lot of that.
Maybe they shouldn't be.
Right.
Right? So there's a lot of confusion of how should I live. And you should be living the way you think you should be living. Right?
So how do we start on the one plan? Where's the starting point?
The starting point is really making a decision if it's important to you, and what is important to you. Because you don't want to start something and then in the middle wonder, why am I doing this again? Right? You want to say, and to what degree is this important? Am I going to do it somewhat? Am I going to do it fully? What is my commitment here?
With the non-violence, when we're non-violent to ourselves, what does violence towards ourselves look like or sound like? It's not like cutting our wrist.
No, well, that's the most obvious point
Right.
of violence. We understand it very well physically, but mentally we don't understand it very well, right? So when we're over-emotional, we're kind of violent to ourselves. If we're over-emotional with other people, we're becoming violent. It leads to more violence, right? Then emotionally we could be eating a lot more. We could be talking a lot more. We could go so far inside that we don't want to talk at all. So it really leads us to the extremes. And anything extreme is usually harmful. And that's why the non-violence is so important. Start to understand your whole life and in which areas are you the most extreme, and then start to bring it in. So the practices are all about coming in from the extremes.
The middle way.
Coming into the middle way, yeah, because in the middle way, you're going to harm yourself less. That's the idea. Because life is quite...
It's an energetic straitjacket.
It is, exactly. You almost have to do that. because sometimes we don't know how to constrain ourselves.
So as you get further into it, there's 8. So we've talked about 2, 3. What are some of the other ones?
Then we start doing the practice of yoga postures, really just to open up the body, because physically we need to be flexible, right? If our body's too stiff, then we can't sit properly to do the higher practices. Then is pranayama, the breathing practices, starting to control the prana in the body. And then after that is sense control, starting to control what we see, what we touch, and all of those things. And that's very important, is because we're so sense orientated. We love nice things. We want to touch things. We want to smell things. We want to, we want to consume them. So all the time, that's really a big challenge for everybody. And then after that, there's concentration practices and then meditation. So that's really step by step. That's why the commitments are really at the beginning. Sort of like the yoga community have taken yoga, the physical aspect, and they haven't actually done the 2 steps before it. They kind of jumped into the middle part of it and they continued. So there's a lot between meditation and yoga postures. There's all these other steps to do. And kind of the most popular are meditation and yoga postures. But really, we can't do yoga postures properly and do meditation unless we commit to all these other things.
So what's possible if we follow the one plan?
Everything's possible. Absolutely everything. That's the thing. Because you start peeling away layers, right? What's inhibiting you doing something is because the mind has got fear. So once we peel away the fears, then we can do what we set out to do.
Yogi, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sharing the plan.
Absolutely.